Hey everybody, welcome to the Hammond Urban Homestead. My name is Sierra Hammond. Now, you guys may know me for showing rabbits and teaching a few classes and stuff like that locally. Now, I've been getting flooded with questions about sourdough. I've been doing it since 2019. And let's just say the longer you're at it, the more ways you can figure out little cheat codes. So this video is about making a loaf of sourdough bread, and I will put the recipe down in the notes of what I use. I've just done it so many times that I don't measure. I'm sorry, I'm that cook. I'm just the feel it with your heart kind of cook. So only reason why I'm like that is I'm not a chef, I'm not a baker, I'm just a mom and living.
Thank you.
You're welcome, honey. Baking bread, the children love it. Sourdough is really good for your gut health and everything else. So it's been a major staple in our family since I started learning how to make it. Now, Noah said something, I couldn't understand him. So we are going to get started with making the bread. It is 8:18 in the morning. I've been up since 5. So we're gonna get this started. I have 2 cups of water in here. Okay, where are your glasses? And you got your yogurt parfait on your shirt. Look, go clean it off. I'm gonna pour about a cup of sourdough starter in here. Now, you want your sourdough floating on the top of the water. I kind of messed with mine earlier, so it's not floating, but I know it's active because it's bubbling. And you want to use warm water. Don't do cold, do warm, not hot. What, Lily?
Can I get more of the maple syrup?
Absolutely, the maple syrup is right here. Alright, I'm using Himalayan salt, sea salt, Himalayan salt, Celtic salt, local harvest salt, whatever you want. Kind of wish I had my see-through bowls at the moment, but Natalie used them for making cookies. I'm gonna grab my whisk. I have my whisk. I'm gonna whisk it up. Just get it all mixed together. I've done the salt in with the water majority of the time. It turns out great. If you're worried that your yeast is gonna react to it, I'll show you when you can put salt in besides in this liquid phase. Now I'm going to put my whisk down because I'm going to use it in a moment again. There's my measuring cup. Now I just add my flour. And the best part about sourdough, you know what you're putting in it, and you don't need a lot of ingredients. It's literally water, starter, salt, flour. Oh, split in my finger has been killing me. So now I'm stirring it, and it's thickening up. I'm gonna be flinging flour soon. So now you can see it's all combined. I'm going to take it off my whisk because now we won't be using her anymore. Alright, my dough is still really wet. It's really tacky. You can tell from the texture. I'm going to add just a smidgen more flour until I get it to the right texture. I don't want it too wet so it doesn't really do what I want it to do, which is rise and grow. And I don't want it too sticky because that's pretty sticky, people. Now at this point, you see where I'm adding the flour, the little bit of flour. You could have added a little bit of salt, especially with it being still wet and tacky. You could add a little bit of salt and just mix it up then. But for me, on a busy morning, just throwing everything in the pot or the bowl. All right, now I can pick it up in one big piece and kind of stretch it. We're not going to stretch it. I'm just showing when you can pull it all out. It's still a little tacky, but we'll cover it with a smidgen more flour. Now, if you've made traditional active rising dough, well, not traditional, active rising isn't really traditional, but if you've made like a normal loaf of white bread with the dehydrated active yeast, you do not want your dough to be that tacky or that kind of consistency when you're making it. We want it wet. This is very wet. It's not like pancake batter or anything like that. It's just, it goes into a ball and it's gooey. Now I'm going to cover this with a bowl cover, which all of mine are in the washer. So I'm going to cover it with a tea towel or a kitchen towel. Works really well for covering if you don't have the bowl covers. Those are all in the washer too. I didn't plan this around my kitchen wash day. I'll tell you that now. So I'm going to use this lid and just cover it. It'll help it stay moist, it'll breathe, and the next thing we'll do is, pretty son, are you gonna put that on the tree? Okay, go do that. The next thing we're going to do is stretch the dough, and I'll show you how to do that when it's time. All right, so it's been 30 minutes. The dough hasn't really risen much, but we're gonna start doing the stretches, and that's what really builds up our bubbles. Now have a bowl with some cold water so you can wet your fingers, because if you don't, the dough sticks. If your fingers are wet, the dough don't stick, but if they're dry, you are going to be a gummy mess. So I'm going to scoop, stretch, and fold. Scoop, and I go under the dough, and I pick it up, and I stretch it over. And we do this to build up the elasticity of the dough and to get air pockets in. Now we go all the way around in a circle, so it's pretty much 4 folds. And what you'll do is let it rest for another 10, 15 minutes, or when you remember. And you want to do this process 3 to 4 times. I've done it like 2 times and I still get nice sized bubbles. But this is what gives you those nice air pockets, and it gets your dough to be quite a bit more lively. Now I'm going to cover it back up, get these kids out to the bus, and finish my cup of coffee that I almost poured in it. Oh no! So now, since that was our third pull and stretch session, I'm gonna go with 3. This dough is pretty elastic now. I'm gonna try and dry my hands with my paper towel. 1 second. All right, I had to go and holler at some kids that were laying on the ground. So now that was our third pull and stretch, and the dough is really, really tight. If you look, it looks kind of like this. We're going to now let that sit in a warm spot for about maybe an hour at most. I might forget, I'm not gonna lie. But as it sits there, it's going to start rising, and I'm going to bring it back to the counter, and I will show you how I make my roll up my dough and do the, it's like a dragging technique. I'll show you guys, and then we'll put it in the curing basket. All right, so now we are going to pull the dough out. I'm going to show you all my little thingy, and then I'm going to put it in the proofing basket, like I said. I do like to put a little flour onto the counter, just so it doesn't stick so badly. My bowl's in the way. All right, so lightly flour. 1 second, I gotta go grab my bench scraper. You're gonna need this, I promise. A bench scraper is awesome for getting the dough off the counter if it gets stuck. So our bread is kind of flat and you can see the bubbles. I'm gonna get it out without tearing it up or anything like that. Put flour on my hand so it's not so bad. All right, it's out. So I knock things over. Let's get this one more. There we go. So here's my dough. It's quite sticky, but that's okay. We're going to stretch it out. I'm going to grab this side, fold it over. We're going to do it in thirds, folding it. Hard for you guys to see everything here. I'll toss it towards you guys. Alright. Now, put flour on my fingers. And I'm going to roll it and pull it. So I'm putting bubbles into it. See, it's like a little roll. And I'm going to tuck it and pull it. Turn it, tuck it, and pull it. Turn, tuck, pull. Now you don't want a whole bunch of flour on your counter. You want it to stretch and stick onto itself. So here's our loaf. Grab some flour. Yeah, I do put a lot of flour on the top of it right now because we are going to get to the point of putting in the basket. So you want to flour your basket. Mine does have fabric in it, but when you put the flour in there, it does help it from sticking onto your proofing basket fabric. And we are going to do now it's in our basket. Gonna tighten it up a little. Let's see if it will do it like I want it to. Alright, this one was a little loose. So I'm going to cover it with a tea towel. And I'm going to stick it in the refrigerator for the next couple of hours. I am doing a slow rise on it, which requires the refrigerator for it to proof, just to keep it from overproofing too fast. So with my starter, I will put it in the refrigerator overnight if I make this in the evening. Since I've made this in the morning, I'm going to put this in the refrigerator, let it sit for about 4 hours, and then before dinner time comes around or before the kids get home, I'll pull it out and I will bake it, which will be our next phase. I'll see you then. Okay, so it's out of the refrigerator. It's been 4 to 5 hours now. So that's perfectly fine for my dough. Has a nice little cold layer on it. I gotta go grab my little nifty thing. Okay, so I have one of these little baking silicone things. Don't know the name, but you can find them on Amazon, and you just have to look up sourdough baking supplies. So I'm going to put this right here. It's a replacement for my parchment. I was having issues doing parchment, and it was just not one of those great things. Now I have my Dutch oven. I do cook it in a Dutch oven. And Natalie, could you get me a handful of rice?
Yeah. Why do you need rice?
I put it in the bottom. Here, take this. The rice is right there.
Oh.
In the bucket.
I am tired, Mom.
Not too much, just a little.
Well, here's too much.
She gave me too much. So we just want to put enough on the bottom to not have our little silicone mat or our parchment touching the bottom of the cast iron, because it'll be really hot and it'll burn the bottom of your loaf. So I'm going to push that to the side. We're going to flip this over. and the reveal. So the loaf is out. I'm going to nicely rub off any extra flour I don't really want on. Which there's not very much on this one to begin with, even though I put tons in the basket. There. Try to center it in there. This is a scoring knife. I'm going to do a deep score, and then, well, first I'm going to do my light scores for the decoration, and then I'll do my deep score.
So that's how you do it.
Mm-hmm. All right. Now I'm going to do my deep score, and I will put it in the Dutch oven.
What happens if it touches the edge of the Dutch oven?
Might stick to it.
Oh.
So now that it's in the Dutch oven, I'm going to preheat my oven to 450, and I'm going to put it in the oven with the lid on. I'm going to bake it like this for 30 minutes, and then I'm going to remove the lid and bake it for another 15 to 20 minutes with the lid off until it gets to the golden color that I would like. Now, this is pretty much how I do all my sourdough loaves, and I hope this helps you guys learn how to do sourdough. So here's the loaf after it came out of the oven. It's nice and crisp, how the kids like it, with that golden brown. And it rose beautifully. Now when you're making sourdough, I'm walking through the house to get more chores done. When you're making sourdough, do not cut it when it's hot. I know the temptation is strong. I was about to do it with that loaf. So I'm gonna go finish my chores. I have to get done out here, and I'll post a picture of how it looks. I hope this helps everybody with learning how to make sourdough and how to have fun with their sourdough starter to make a loaf of bread.